Happy Tuesday, everyone. It's Greg Dixon here with Shared Visions, and I'm here we're talking with Dorina from Dorina's Kitchen, and I'll get her to pronounce her full name in a minute here. But we met recently, and we started talking about food, and we have a lot of things in common related to food, and one of the ones is um, Dorina is on a mission to get families back to eating together, and she also has teaches cooking and runs cooking adventure tours in Italy. So maybe you could introduce yourself a bit here, and we'll go from there.
I'd be happy to. So my name's Dorina Lantella, and I say that I teach people how to cook for the sake of getting families back to the table. It's a mission that I'm on. I guess you want to say to save the world, one table at a time. I believe that the table is the bottom building block of society, and we need to have a strong foundation if we are going to have a building that stands and doesn't fall down. So I do this by way of my cooking show, my Dorina's Kitchen cooking show. I stream live on Facebook, and sometimes I'm live on YouTube, but most of the time we edit and put it on YouTube so you can get a chance to watch it without my fumbling and bumbling and talking too much. But I say it's my cooking and Italian mother teaching you how to live your life show, or telling you how to live your life show, usually waving a spoon around at somebody. But I believe that we really do need to come to the table, eat together, commune. Life is about food. We need to eat, but life is about connections. It's about the people that are in our lives. And so if we are sitting at a counter all facing the same way, we are not facing each other, communing and connecting. So we really need to do that. So that's what I do by way of the kitchen. I connect people, I connect families. And it's it's a labor of love. It is definitely a mission, I believe, something that I'm supposed to be doing. And so aside from just teaching people how to cook and connect on my show, I bring people to Italy, to a little town named Roseto Val Fortore that's in the province of Foggia in the region of Puglia, which is the heel of the boot down at the bottom, although we're at the top of the heel. There's a region of little mountain villages, and they still live in community there. And so you come there with me, we learn how to cook, but you also learn how to live. So there's actually a little story that I think I may have told you about the town we go to. There's a thing called the Roseto effect. And if you've ever read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, or hear about blue zones, which this is not a blue zone, but it's very similar and doesn't get the blue zone designation because it has its own designation. So the first wave of immigrants from Roseto, Italy, came to the United States in the 1880s. And they ended up in eastern Pennsylvania working in the slate mines. Well, they were kind of, pushed off a little to the side. They're a little discriminated against, unfortunately, due to the times. And they started their own town, and they named it Roseto after the town in Italy. So there is a Roseto, Pennsylvania to this day still. The thing is, fast forward from the 1880s to 1960s, the doctor serving the town told another doctor that nobody in this town had any heart disease and a lot of other ailments as well, up to a certain age, which was way higher than the national average. So they go and study the town. What are these people eating that they're so healthy and happy and all this? But they found that they were eating the salted cured meats, fatty cheeses, food fried in lard. They were smoking, drinking lots of wine. They were happy and healthy. So like, what is it? So they studied further. And what they ultimately attributed their good health and their longevity to was their community-centered, church-centered, family-centered life. And they said that the people nourished each other. They said it was, it was just the connections in the community that they had. So they said that they would, it was the people that nourished each other. They just gave it the name of the Roseto effect. And so fast forward to today, I'm on the mission to revive the Roseto effect. So, that's what it's all about. And so I, I'm out there trying to teach it, share it. I'm on a mission to revive the Roseto effect, get families back to the table. And I'm hoping that you all will join me. everybody who comes on my trips, I tell them you're an ambassador for the Roseto Effect, because you come there, you learn how to cook, but you learn how to live, and you share it. So we do cooking classes, and I tell people, yeah, first of all, a lot of people these days don't know how to cook. And we kind of lost a few generations of teachers when the moms all went back to work. And we've become a society that feels like we need to have a two income family. And I guess in a way we've created that, so we do need it. But my husband and I, Pasquale, we decided that we were going to make that sacrifice, and I stayed home and raised my kids, and I made the meals and put it on the table, and everybody ate, and we have a very united family. We have 6 kids, so it was probably definitely cheaper for me to stay home than to work. But that, let me tell you, staying home is work, but it is hard work, but it is a labor of love. So I definitely feel like we kept that Roseto Effect alive in our home, and we go back there all the time. So that is where I take people on these wonderful trips. So I do have a bunch of trips coming up, May and June and July and October. So, if you ever want to travel to Italy, to a peasant village that's off the beaten path and not all expensive and touristy and crowded and all that stuff, I'm your gal. Give me a call. But, it is truly a passion of mine, and I love sharing it with people. The whole concept, the Roseto town, the Roseto Effect, life around the table, so that's what I do.
No, that's fabulous.
I can't wait to bring you.
Yeah, no, I think I told you the story that my wife Bonnie actually went to Italy and took a cooking course in Tuscany, and it doesn't take much bribery to persuade us to go travel to Italy and go for cooking, learn how to cook, and just enjoy the as you say, a small village life and family life, family values kind of thing.
It is. When I'm in Italy, I get up in the morning. Honestly, we have a 4-room house there, and I'm so happy there. I have this big, beautiful house here in Delaware, which we're getting ready to sell because we're done. We're ready to go over there almost full time. We spend about half the year in both places at this point, but we're ready to spend a little bit more than half over there. And but the thing is, I wake up in the morning and I walk out onto my balcony and I look down at the street, because we're up on the 2nd floor, and there's always somebody walking by, and it's buongiorno, and it's a greeting, and it's buongiorno means good day.
Yeah.
Here we ask people, hey, how are you? And then before you can answer, they're gone. They're like, did they even care what I had to say? And so it's an interesting, it's become, how are you is just words. It doesn't have meaning anymore. And it's kind of sad. And it's definitely, I'll tell you, I didn't tell you this part. Roseto, Pennsylvania. So in the 1960s had the best health in the country. Okay. So 30 years later, in the 90s, they revisited the town to kind of retest it. And what they found was that their health was no longer what it was in the 60s, because up until the 60s, they were just this enclave of Italians. It just was them. Then, we get into the 70s, 80s, and 90s, where people are moving up and out and doing all this stuff. And they found that their health was now on par with the rest of America. So their health had declined. And this is the reason, because they had become Americanized. Isn't that sad, that because Americanization is bad for your health? So it's kind of sad.
That's a North American legacy. I think that's true in India as well, right? Because all of a sudden there's a bunch of food options that aren't necessarily healthy for them.
Yeah. And it's the food, but it's also the community. When you have, because it's a known fact that stress is one of the greatest factors in almost every ailment, every disease. If you have a good lifestyle, if you are relaxed, you're definitely going to heal better. You may not even get as sick. And so when I'm in Italy, I am happier. I smile more. I physically feel better. Let me tell you a quick story that doesn't have anything to do with me, yet it'll make sense here. Some years ago, there was an article in the New York Times, and it was called "The Island Where They Forget to Die." And it was about this Greek gentleman. I forget. I don't know if he was maybe in his 60s or something. And he found he had terminal cancer. And he decided that at this point, they told him, I think he had like 6 months to live, 6 or 9 months to live. So he was Greek. He told his wife, I want to go back to Greece. I want to go back to my island of Ikaria. And I want to just finish out my life there. He had grown children. He told his kids, I'm going back to Greece. And that's what he did. So he goes there, he eats their food, but he spends his days, he planted his garden thinking that his wife would get to harvest it the next season. And he lived as if every day was his last, but he enjoyed what was left. When they did the article, it was like 30, 40 years later. He was 100 and I think he was 100 or 102, something like that. Apparently, all his cancer was gone. He never went to a doctor. Nothing ever had, like everything was healed. And I don't believe it was just the food, but it was that lifestyle, which is the same kind of lifestyle that's on all the blue zones, as they call them, the healthy places, the Roseto effect. These are the places where people still live in community. They spend time with other people, and that warmth and that energy that we get from being with our people in community, in connection, that lack of feeling of stress because I know somebody's always got my back. That's where the longevity comes from. My friend's dad just died 2 years ago now. In my friend's grandfather, I should say. He was 111 in our village. He was the oldest man in Italy at the time. And he just died. Not it was during COVID time, but it wasn't because of COVID. He didn't have COVID.
Yeah.
He just was 111. He was done, But I mean, if I could live to 111, oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And he was fine. Like he was lucid and clear and happy, and walking around town, So I mean, he used a cane, but I mean, if I can walk with a cane at 111, I'd be totally happy.
No, that's pretty good. So reduce stress, eat well. The Mediterranean diet works, and family and community. So that's
I think the Mediterranean diet isn't just about food. I think it's about living that lifestyle.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination. I'm not going to ever deny that I think food is important, and especially in this country, you really got to be careful because we don't know where all our food comes from.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about Italy is they've completely banned the idea of that the lab grown meat, the fake meat that we've okayed here. I'm like, I don't know, that kind of stuff. That scares me. I'm a food purist. I prefer the stuff out of my backyard that I know that there's no chemicals on with my heritage seeds and all that kind of stuff.
I joke about the 7-Eleven hot dog having 100% unknown materials.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. And the scary part is that they taste good, and they're addicting.
Well, my experience is that you needed an awful lot of alcohol for them to taste good, but that's a different story.
Nothing like a 7-Eleven run after a night at a bar. Yeah, okay.
Denny's.
Oh gosh. And actually, up in New Jersey, good diners. Definitely a good diner. Some, fried eggs and bacon, then you're good to go.
I love diners, and sort of the quirkier the better, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diners are cool places. A lot of personality in those places, that's for sure.
A lot of personality.
But that's awesome.
You've got a trip coming up in May, right? To Italy? Yeah. And how many people go on?
So my trips, they include everything. So you basically, and the price is fantastic. And you give me a call, we could discuss it. But we go. It's a 10-day trip. Our next trip is May 24th to June 3rd, if I remember correctly. And usually I try to make the trips go over some feast or festival because, you got to see the stuff that they do, how they maintain the traditions. We are people. We are meant to be pack animals. We are not meant to be lone wolves. We are supposed to be with people. And the traditions and the rituals that come from our heritage and faith bond us as families and as communities. So over there, they really do keep up with a lot of the old traditions, whether, most of them are church related because in most cultures, there's some sort of faith that's tied to it. And so we have all these wonderful feasts and festivals, and I try to have each trip go over one of them. So you can see a procession, you can see how we celebrate, and it's all real and natural and organic. It's not some show that's put on for tourists. It's real. So in May, there's the Saint San Filippo feast, Saint Philip, who is actually our patron saint of our town, and he's the patron saint of happiness and joy. So how much better can it get? So exactly, that's it. So it truly resonates with me because that is where my happiness and joy resides. So but we have like I said, they're 10 days. We have wonderful B&Bs in the village that my cousin owns one, some of my other good friends own some other ones. I try to spread people around the town, and I try to patronize all the businesses in the village. We have a couple of restaurants. We do cooking classes. We have restaurant meals. We leave town a couple days and go see an ancient Roman amphitheater. We go see a sanctuary and a cave where St. Michael the Archangel appeared. That's a UNESCO World Heritage Site in a town called Monte Sant'Angelo. We go to see an ancient castle. We go to a winery that's a family-run business, so it's not like some big, commercial thing. It's a family-run business. It is a business, and they do wonderful stuff, but their wine is so good. Oh, I'm really picky about my wine. I can't be. I don't like. Some people like that really dry, so I don't like it really dry. I don't like it too sweet. They have this wonderful. And my husband does not like white wine. He does not like rosé wine, but let me tell you, he drinks all their wines because he's like, oh my gosh, they're so good. They're very, what I like about them, it's called Cantina La Marchesa, and they're very dedicated to their local indigenous grapes of the region. So they really do everything that is of the local area, and it's really wonderful how they do things. So, and they're great cooks too. So we go there and we have a meal that's to die for, paired with all these wonderful wines, and we leave there fat and happy. Let me tell you, it's a great day.
The fat and happy tour, yay!
Yeah, that's what I call it, fat and happy tour. Actually, I got to tell you though, people that come on my trips, I had one gal lost 8 pounds in the 10 days we were there because we do walking. Not a whole lot at once, but we walk regularly.
It adds up. If you're just walking around the village, you're going here and there, it adds up, really.
It's a combination of the walking, it's a combination of the kind of food. And I'll tell you this, I do believe it's when you eat what you eat, because I think that the Mediterranean diet, sometimes they forget the fact that in the Mediterranean, they don't eat a big meal at night. They eat the big meal midday.
Yes.
And so when you have your bigger meal during the day, especially like say your dish of pasta, your carb meal, you have all day to work it off. So it's actually much healthier physically also. Yeah. And so you have that bigger meal. And at night, we just have kind of like protein and vegetables. So that being the case, you're going to lose weight just by changing when you eat what you eat, Yes. It makes a difference. It really does. So it does. Yeah. Like I don't just teach people how to cook. I teach them how to eat too. Because also, I'm going to give everybody a tip who's watching. If you're eating a food that you don't like, I haven't liked this since I was a kid. Yeah, when's the last time you had it? When you were a kid? Okay. Do you realize? Okay, here's the Italian mother talking to you now. Do you realize that your taste buds grow just like your muscles grow? So if you haven't had it since you're a kid, how do you know you still don't like it? Number one. Number two, if you don't like it, maybe you haven't had it right yet, because there's so many ways to make every kind of food. I will tell you, I love my Irish friend. St. Patrick's Day was 2 days ago. But my dearest Irish friend from Ireland, she makes Brussels sprouts boiled in water. And to me, boiled Brussels sprouts smell like feet. But I saute them with pancetta and olive oil. Yeah. And let me tell you, they are good. So, it's all about how you do things and what your palate likes. So you really got to try things differently and explore.
We'll put Brussels sprouts, put some oil and spices on them and put them in the air fryer. And that works.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Good stuff. I got to point out, today is the Feast of St. Joseph.
Okay.
And it's a big deal in Italy because St. Joseph's Day is Father's Day in Italy. Because Italy, being a Catholic country, St. Joseph was Jesus' earthly father. And so therefore they make this day is Father's Day in Italy. So it's a big deal to wish people happy name day. So anybody who's named Joseph, happy name day. It's easier to wish somebody happy name day than even their birthday, because everybody named Joseph today, you say happy name day. So in Italian, they say buon onomastico. And, but it's also Father's Day over there. So happy Father's Day from Italy, so to speak, to everyone out there who's watching, who's a dad.
Yeah. So we, Bonnie and I work with somebody from Italy named Joseph. So there we go. We'll
Oh, then
pass
that
this
makes
on
sure
to
you
him.
listen. Tell him I'll send you how to write it. Buon onomastico, and that's what you tell him. Does he speak Italian?
Yes.
Okay, that's what you got to tell him that today. It's important. It's a big
Okay.
deal.
It's a big deal.
It is a big
And
deal.
since we've been talking about food, you have an offer for people for recipes. I've got the dorinaskitchen.com/recipes.
Yes,
And
sir.
there's a big button there to push to get your free sign up for the free
Okay,
recipe.
so what I have for everybody watching is a free gift. So because I talk so much about getting you to the table, I have a giveaway that is 5 recipes to help you get started getting your family to the table. I have a little bonus page as well, just some tips on getting conversations started at the table. You know, so many people will sit with the kids and then they don't really talk to the kids. The adults will talk amongst each other, or then they're like, "Oh, kids, you know, how was school today?" And what happens? The kids say, "Ugh, bad, okay, or fine." So, you know, I'm going to tell you one of the freebies that I threw in there, but never ever, when you're at the table with kids, ask a question that ends with, that could be answered with yes, no, or fine. Because to me, fine, you know, my kids are like, fine, or sucks, you know, you know, change the question. Tell me about school today. Gosh, that change of just the tweak of a couple words changes the answer
Yeah.
and makes conversation happen. So, you know, speak their language. Oh my gosh, guess what? I saw this hilarious thing on TikTok today. And the kids will be like, "You watch TikTok?" Well, not anymore now because I think they're banning it. But okay, so maybe you need to go to Instagram. Saw this great funny video on Instagram. This puppy was doing such and such or whatever. But you speak in their language in things that they might understand, um, using the things that they play with, and then all of a sudden, well, maybe you're not such a nerd mom after all, and maybe you're worthy of having a conversation with, you know. So you know, it does help. So there's definitely things that can be done to make conversation more fun, more interesting, and flow better. So
Yep.
it's not hard, but I do know people who don't know how to do it. And
Yep.
if it wasn't for the fact that so many people have called me over the years, how did you get your kids to eat? How did you get your kids to eat at the table? How did you get them to do this? How did you get them to do that? First thing is be a firm parent. I got to say that. You know, I don't need to be their best friend when they're little because they're grown-ups way longer than they are kids. I'd rather raise people that I enjoy being with for that longer period. So I raise some kids who are now adults who I enjoy hanging out with. And unfortunately, I have friends who were great friends and buddies with their kids when they were little, but they don't enjoy them anymore.
No.
And so because they didn't, unfortunately, raise people that wanted to spend time with them. So I kind of was the mean mom. Ask my kids, they'll tell you that. I was waving the spoon around all the time, threatening everybody, you know, get at the table right now. It's time for dinner. You know,
Put that cell phone away.
exactly. But gosh, I love when I'm around the table with my kids now. My kids are between 22 and 32, all 6 of them. 2 of them are married, and we have a great time, and I enjoy them. And I look forward to enjoying them the rest of my life. So that's my tip. Be a mean mom. There you
Be a
go.
mean mom.
All right, not mean, but you know, be a firm and stick to
Yeah.
your guns, mom.
Yeah.
You know, it's important. So
There's an IKEA commercial that you may have seen, and there's you know, they've got a family get together and a big kitchen, and they've got the Italian grandmother or whatever come over and looking everything in the kitchen, checking all the food, and everybody's sort of terrified what she's going to say. It's good. got the official seal of approval.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No, I think back to your original idea, it's really important to get people to sit at and have a family meal, and it's a bit rare. Like we don't always do it here. We don't always have a place to do it. But yeah, I think you and I said both really love Blue Bloods, and that's almost every episode ends with a
Great show.
family meal, and
Yeah.
and they're talking, sort of lighthearted, teasing each other, but often they're sort of recapping the main issue. It's almost always some kind of dilemma, and various people there on either side of that dilemma. So it's a place where you can have a discussion about it.
Yeah. There's also another show that takes place up there in Canada, Heartland.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And there's actually a snippet, I think I saw it on YouTube, where they talk about their meals at the table as well, and how they come together at the table often also and talk about whatever issue is going on. And I love that they have scenes at the table, because there's so many shows that don't even show a table, much less any mealtime.
Yeah.
And then how else do you show togetherness and connection? Then, as well as that, it's really, but Blue Bloods, and the fact that they say grace, and the fact that, they talk around the table. I mean, my kids, that's the thing, heritage, faith, and family, if you cook a meal, because this is how I say, we kind of get it all back, because it's all broken, and if we can cook, then more than likely you'll bring the family to the table. Because if you order out, if you order a pizza, it's going to end up on the coffee table in front of the TV. It's just the way it is. You open the box and there it is. But if you cook the meal, you'll greater chance you'll get them to the table. So now you've got the family at the table. If I'm cooking a meal, usually it's Italian. So now I've got heritage and my family at the table. And of course, it's easiest to get them to say grace at the table. It's easier than getting them to church on a Sunday. So even if you only say grace at the table, at least you have now some heritage, some faith, and some family at your table. That's a great start. It really, to me, that is what it's all about. It's very simple, and that's where we start.
Yeah, it's where we start.
Yep.
So I'm very much involved with First Nations communities here in Merritt. And that if there's ever an event, there's always going to be food. Like, it's a big part of the event to share a meal together.
Yeah. Well, everybody, all of us have a story. And the thing is, where do you share your story? Where do you get support when you need it? Where do you go to get grounded and reset? The family table is always the place. It's the place where we feel comforted and soothed, not just by the food, but with the people around the table. When somebody has a baby, what do? You take them food. When somebody dies, what do? You take them food. When somebody graduates from college, what do? You go to a party, you eat food. Same for everything. Somebody gets married. How do we celebrate? With food? It is what our lives revolve around. So if our lives revolve around the food, let's let the food help us revolve ourselves around that life, and come together that way. So it's important. And if we got to cook, we might as well make it good. So watch my show. I'll teach you how. Come on, everybody loves Italian food. That's a given,
So I guess that's the homework assignment, right?
Absolutely.
Just download your recipes there, and then maybe go out and either go go have a meal with some friends, or cook a meal and invite friends and family over. So that's your homework assignment.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to show the website a little bit here.
Yep. Dorina'sKitchen.com. And then if you go to /recipes, that's where the download is for the recipes. But if you go to Dorina'sKitchen.com, you can learn a little bit about my mission. Tells a little bit about the Back to the Table movement, the Roseto effect. You can learn about the Italy trips. So you can see the dates that are there. And on my little blog area there are some of my recipes that are written out with the video. But if not, you go to my Dorina's Kitchen Facebook page or my Dorina's Kitchen YouTube channel, and you will see the videos. So, and hopefully, if everything goes well this year, we will also be on television on the Roku channel. So I'm very excited about that. That's what we're working on. And I'm saying it out loud because when I say things out loud, it makes it happen. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, it's broadcast. It's got to happen.
Absolutely.
There we go. Well, Thank you very much for coming today and sharing what you do and making everybody hungry.
Well, I hope that people will, join the movement,
join the movement,
the table movement. Hashtag back to the table, hashtag Dorina's kitchen and the Rosetto effect, because these are really, really important things. I urge you, Google the Rosetto effect and read about it. It's really an interesting story. It gets a lot deeper than I touched on here. There's been documentaries, there's been stories written about it, articles, you name it. It's a big deal. And I plan on making sure that the entire Americas knows what that means before I'm done. So bringing it back from the 60s. So
that's a pretty good mission.
Thank you.
And also, and also visit. People can learn more about your tours, your Italy on the website,
Absolutely.
and there's information to contact you to learn more about it. So, yeah. So awesome. Well, thank you very much. And
thank you here. I really appreciate the invite to be here today, and I hope that all your listeners and mine that are watching as well, mine have heard it a lot, but I hope it sinks in even more. And that's it. So, I hope we
okay. There we go.
We can save the world together.
Yes. Awesome. Fabulous. Thank you very much.
Start somewhere, one table at a time.
One table at a time, one meal at a time.
Yep, exactly.
One pasta dish.
Who doesn't love pasta? All right, wait, I'm going to leave you with one last story.
Okay.
If I may. I was early when I first got married, and my husband, when we first met, actually asked me 3 questions. He said, he saw a flag on my car, and he said, "Are you Italian?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Can you cook?" I was like, "Of course I can cook." He's like, "Will you marry me?" Well, we were married 6 months later. But one day in that first year, he comes home from work, and we were young and we were broke. He was newly out of the military. Not broke, but we didn't have a lot of money. And I was making pasta. I had the sauce on the stove. The pasta water was boiling. He walks in. Of course, when you're cooking the sauce, the whole house smells good. He walks in the house. He goes, "Man," he goes, "I'm so glad we're Italian." I looked at him laughing. I go, "Why?" He goes, "Because I'm so glad I love pasta." And needless to say, my plan is to make some t-shirts say I love pasta, because, that's what got us going there for many years.
Well, there we go.
I love pasta.
So a free dating tip.
Yep, exactly. I'm a firm believer in the way to a man's heart is through his tummy. So, I'm a believer in knowing how to cook and knowing your family foods and your family traditions.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Okay.
So, Greg, thank you again so much. This was fun.
This is fun. Yeah. And we'll do it again sometime.
I would love to.
Maybe before your next tour or something in May or something, we'll do it.
Well, I was just going to say, maybe we'll do it from Italy. I'll just walk around town and show you.
Yes. That would be perfect. There we go. Live tour.
Live from Italy. Here's Dorina. Okay. Do it.
Awesome.
All right.
Because with here we can do it with the phone. You can just have it on the phone and walk around.
Yep.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So I'll see you in Italy.
Okay. See you in Italy, one way or another.
One way or another. Well, that's all. Thank you again. I really appreciate it. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Mwah.